All right, let's jump right into a question that I bet feels deeply familiar to just about anyone who's worked in a big organization. Why is it that failure gets punished so much more severely than inaction? Why is the person who tries something and fails treated so much worse than the person who never even bothered to try in the first place? Man, this statement, it just stings a little, doesn't it? Because it feels so true. It's that quiet, uncomfortable reality that kind of hangs in the air during meetings and project kickoffs. It's like this invisible hand that's always rewarding caution and slapping down ambition.
And this, of course, leads to a frustration we've all seen. You look around and you see these smart, creative, totally capable people, and they're deliberately avoiding risks. They're championing the safest possible path, they're delaying big decisions, and they're shying away from any truly new projects. So the real mystery is, why do so many good people choose to do nothing?
Now, our first instinct, almost always, is to blame the individuals. We see inaction and we think, oh, that person lacks courage, or they have a bad attitude, or maybe they're just lazy. But what if we're blaming the players for a game that's rigged from the start? Because when you dig a little deeper, what looks like laziness is very often just a completely rational assessment of risk. What we might call a lack of vision is actually a pretty smart response to a system that punishes new ideas if they don't work out. And what we label as incompetence, well, that's frequently the logical outcome of an incentive structure that rewards caution way more than it rewards progress. The problem isn't the people, it's the system they're in.
So this gets us to the absolute core idea of this whole explainer, that there's an invisible blueprint, a kind of hidden architecture within these organizations that makes doing nothing the most logical choice for your own career survival.
And the number one foundational rule of this blueprint is something called asymmetric accountability. Here's what that means. When you take action and you fail, that failure is visible. It's a smoking crater in the ground with your name written all over it. But the costs of inaction, all those missed opportunities, the market share you lost, those are totally invisible. They're ghosts. And you know what? You can't fire a ghost.
This scenario just illustrates it perfectly, right? Let's say you have two managers. Manager 1 launches a bold, ambitious project, and it fails spectacularly. Meanwhile, Manager 2 never even starts that project at all. Who do you think is more likely to face real negative consequences? It's Manager 1 every single time. Their failure is a tangible event, a line item on a report that someone has to answer for. Manager 2's inaction, that's a non-event. It's the dog that didn't bark. The system is just designed to react to the loud noise of failure, not the deafening silence of a missed opportunity.
This whole system of asymmetric accountability breeds a really powerful survival tool, plausible deniability. Inaction is like a shield. By not taking a clear, decisive, recorded action, you can't really be blamed for a bad outcome. But the second you launch that project, you've dropped your shield and painted a target on your back. Choosing inaction isn't cowardice, it's a perfectly rational strategy for self-preservation.
Okay, so now let's talk about how this pattern doesn't just exist, it actually repeats and reinforces itself. This isn't just a static set of rules, we're talking about a dynamic system that learns, adapts, and actually grows stronger over time.
This feedback loop is basically the engine of inaction. It starts when a single visible failure gets punished. Everyone else sees it happen, and they learn a very clear lesson. Inaction is safe. That, in turn, causes the organization's overall risk aversion to go up. And the natural result of that is that fewer and fewer bold actions are even attempted in the first place. It's a downward spiral into a culture of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you might be wondering, why is this system so incredibly hard to change? Even when you have leaders and employees with the best intentions, the system has this kind of built-in immune response that just attacks and neutralizes any threat to the status quo. I mean, we all see the problem, right? We sit in those meetings and we talk a big game about embracing failure and taking more risks. But if everybody is aware of the issue, why doesn't anything ever seem to change? Well, the system has these two, frankly, brilliant defense mechanisms. First up is diffuse responsibility. The cost of doing nothing is spread out so thin, it's like a tiny tax on everyone, that no single person feels the pain enough to actually stand up and do something about it. Second, there's the intense focus on the short term. The sting of a failed project is immediate, and it's real. The potential payoff from that same project, that's just some distant, fuzzy dream. And we are just wired to avoid immediate pain, even if it means sacrificing a huge long-term gain. So, this brings us to the final and kinda unsettling thought here. The system that frustrates us so much, it isn't actually broken.
It's a perfectly designed machine, and its purpose, whether it's conscious or not, is to avoid visible, attributable failure. And at that job, it is an unqualified runaway success.